All right, we are on air. It is Thursday, July 29th. This is the meeting check-in on development tasks for Backdrop CMS. First item on the agenda is Backdrop, the product itself. Nate, do you want to give us an update?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. So it's been a little while since we last had an online meeting since in this last week, but in the intervening time, some things have happened. Backdrop 1.7.1 was released, which was a security fix that corresponded to a release of Drupal on the same day. And so we moved that prompted us to have a release date for the first bug fix release for 1.7. So that came out Wednesday, June 21st. And then all of the issues that had been in the 1.71 queue were bumped up to 1.72. And there are a number of issues that are currently being tracked with that specific milestone. There's looks like a little over 30 issues right now are all in that tag. And it looks like a good number of them actually are in a needs review state, which is awesome. I also see that 2 issues have been bumped into RTBC for that release. So I'll get to those and merge them in shortly. There's no super high priority items as far as bug fixes are concerned. I would probably still call out that we have a number of backports. We haven't been doing backports from Drupal bug fix releases in quite a few releases, so we're probably pretty far behind as far as direct cross ports over from Drupal 7 into Backdrop. So we probably, I know that there's already a couple of issues for tracking the last couple of releases of Drupal, but I imagine we'll probably need a new one for the latest one that just came out for the security release, because there's almost always more fixes than just the security fixes in any release of Drupal. So, but anyway, no major priorities for 1.7.2. There's issue tracker, of course, and if you're interested in fixing the most immediate bugs within Backdrop, the 1.7.2 tracker is a good place to look. 1.8. 1.8 comes out May 5th. Gosh, sorry, that date is incorrect. September 15th, 2017. And we have a couple of items that we need, that we're putting some focus on to incorporate into that version. One of them, layout relationships, is issue 2134, got bumped from the last release, and we're working to finish that functionality up. There's no updates since the last meeting we had on that one. Media library is issue 1448, and the media library at this point is really focused more on image handling. And there's a bucket of sub-issues that have been created under 1448 to kind of break down that work. Most of them, well, some of them can be done in any order. I know that there's been some work done by Al Rozakov and some other work done by Daggerheart, but it doesn't look like there's been any progress in the past week or so. But yeah, we definitely have a lot of enthusiasm around improved file management. And so 1448 is the meta location for all of the sub issues on that. But unfortunately, I don't think there's anything extra to report on that this week either. And lastly, config translation. Config translation is issue 704. At 704, we have a general battle plan for how we can handle configuration translation in a centralized / backwards compatible manner. That's still in the brainstorming phase. but there's some basic ideas about how we could have that implemented in 704. Other than those three main issues, which of course some of them have sub-issues themselves, there's also the 1.8 tracker that you can find in GitHub. There's got a number of other ideas and smaller pieces of functionality that we'd also like to get implemented before the next release. And of course, UX and DX fixes are an ongoing thing that as we make those improvements, we can merge them in at any time. That's it. As far as the 1.8 release updates, not a whole lot to report, however, but a lot of work to do. Items for 2.0. So this is just put into the agenda here. Automatic updates. This is an interesting thing that I don't know if it's necessarily a 2.0 item, but it is something that we've been doing a bit of brainstorming around. Jen, do you know what Mike's last name is? The guy that has been working on the automatic updater. Anyway, at Twin Cities Drupal Camp, there's a developer who's been in the Backdrop queue from time to time, and I've forgotten his handle. But his first name is Mike. But Mike has been doing work on a piece of software called Curator, and Curator is intended to be a piece of software that updates other software. So a standalone piece of functionality that can update other systems such as Backdrop. Pantheon. So anyway, Mike has been doing this work that is totally awesome. And he was demonstrating it to me at the Twin Cities Drupal Camp Code Sprint, or at least showing me the code base and how it all works. And we had some really great discussions about that. But the ultimate concept would be that this piece of software is written in PHP, but when it's completed, you can put it all together into a self-contained PHP archive file, a FAR file. And then you can control it either from command line or web interfaces. And then it would be capable of, if you format your releases in a certain way, to tell it kind of what's changed and what files should be removed or updated. It can look at an installation and then provide the ability to update all the files and long-term, I think, run an update process such as update.php, and also have the ability to restore back in the event of a failure. The whole thing is really pretty cool. And long-term, if we were to implement that, what it would look like is we would just include this FAR archive at some point in the distribution of Backdrop, and it would be responsible for doing updates to core. In the short term, though, it's much more likely that we would build out a contrib module that we just bundled this library into the contrib module, and then it could be responsible for updating core. In a strange kind of way, core is capable of updating contrib already. So there could be this strange loop where core updates contrib modules, but then this contrib module updates core. I don't know. Lots to think about still there, but it's really awesome that work is moving forward, and he's got Backdrop in the front of his mind because this is kind of where the idea was conceived for him to do this work. And so he's working on supporting Backdrop in 777, and then thinking about 888 and other composer-based projects as kind of a phase 2 type implementation. Yeah, other items for 2.x, a much wider conversation that, I don't know, Jen, do you have anything that you would like to talk about regarding 2.x?
No, I mean, the only other thing is we need to figure out what it means to be Backdrop 2.x. the supporting 1.x and 2.x modules at the same time, if that's possible.
Yeah.
Are we talking about 2.x for any particular reason right now?
Because if we want to release on January 15th, we've got to think about it now.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, implying that once we get up to 1.9, we would need to roll over to 2.0.
No. There's not. We can go to whatever number we want.
Yeah, we can go to 110
or 115 or the arbitrary, whatever. I think the date is more important than the number. Like sooner better than later. Yeah. But that means we have to do a significant amount of work to figure out if it's even possible to do what we want to do in the amount of time we have available.
I haven't been around. I don't know if anything's come up, but I still haven't heard terribly many compelling reasons why we would need to move to 2.0 other than...
The number one reason is because people are going to be more likely to adopt a backdrop if the number is 2 than 1. So it's like coming from a marketing perspective. But also, like, we have promised everybody that backdrop will be easier to support over the long term, and we haven't been able to prove that because we don't have a major version upgrade to demonstrate that major version upgrades are going to be easier.
Yeah.
And so trying to figure out, like, how do we make the major version upgrade easier, and then what does that look like? Just require that we could do something like support 1.x and 2.x modules. That would be a huge thing to proving that that process is going to be easier and that you have 2 major cycles for any of your contributor custom projects to upgrade.
Unless we actually release something that's worthy of being like a 2.x, then we're just sort of,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it's going to be another point.
It doesn't have to change. We could just call it 2.x in the next version, no significant changes, and that would be fine.
But we really haven't proved anything then because we don't have any breaking changes. So it'd be easy to support the upgrade because we haven't actually made any breaking changes to the thing. So
maybe we don't ever want to make breaking changes, right? Like if we do this thing where we introduce new things and add backwards compatibility, we just need to figure out what that world looks like for us.
We could just drop the 1 off the beginning of our versions, and now we're up to version 9 or something like that. And it's like backdrop 9. We're on backdrop 7 already. We're just we're zooming, man. seven major version changes and nothing's broken.
Right. And I think that if that's the model we want, we just need to figure that out. Like, how do we support a non-breaking change future for backdrop?
Interesting. Well, yes, more discussion.
Yeah. So we just need, and I think before we can actually decide what we need to do, we need to figure out if it's even possible to have a non-breaking change version from 1 to 2. And if it's not, discussion over.
Right. Yeah. Because, in concept, another thing that's been discussed, I'm sure, is, dropping the deprecated and backwards compatibility things in the release of 2.0. So, that would be like the exact opposite of what Jen just described. Well, in any case, while Jen is answering the door, maybe we can move on to event recap, which is Jen and I recently were both in Montreal and in Twin Cities Drupal Camp. And in both places, we did a half-day training and we did a session. Both events went really well. Drupal Camp Montreal, just through a bit of the fluke in the scheduling, ended up with quite a few people in the training. However, there were people that were just kind of like, we've never even heard of Backdrop. We're here to kind of figure out what it is. With mixed results, because they just spent the whole morning in a Drupal 8 training. And so we... that
has got to be confusing to do.
Right. Well, yeah, a whole bunch of new people that show up at a camp and they do Drupal 8 in the morning and then Backdrop in the afternoon.
Which do they like better?
We didn't ask that particular question. But we still had some.
Were they mostly like Drupal 7 people, or were they just fresh to like the whole thing?
I think they were mostly fresh to the whole thing.
Yeah.
There were some people that had 7 sites. There were some people that had 6 sites. There were some people who hadn't seen anything. It was a mix. The one thing that was interesting about talking about Backdrop in Montreal, it became obvious how much we need to focus on translation. Telling them that it's the same for 7 as it is for Backdrop was not great for us. People are not super happy with translation in Drupal 7. So I think making some progress on that would do a lot of good for Backdrop.
Yep.
And then Drupal Camp Twin Cities was a very different experience. Like we had the same training in the same session, but the response was overwhelmingly positive. Like there were people who showed up in the room and were like, I never heard of Backdrop before. And then at the end of the day, they were like, I can't imagine my future without Backdrop in it. It was just like a complete, they were surprised that they hadn't heard of it. They were impressed when they saw it. They saw it being used. One person personally who had a Drupal 7 site and a Drupal 8 site thought it was like the perfect balance of both. Another person who worked in an agency was like, our company should be using this. And it was a really good reinforcement. Like after being in Montreal and being like, wow, we have so much work to do. We really need to fix translation. Then going to Twin Cities and having people where that wasn't their #1 priority be completely impressed and convinced by Backdrop after just a few hours of seeing it was kind of reassuring. It was kind of a good kind of kick in the pants that we still have work to do, but also a rewarding experience that we have been creating something that people really enjoy. So it was good. Anything else you want to add, Nate?
No, I think that's great. Yeah, we kind of covered what we did at the sprints in the automatic updates conversation. I added a link to the agenda that goes to that curator project that Mike's been working on. Although at this point, there's a lot of code in there, but he didn't have it ready, at least for like a proof of concept demonstration. Although there's definitely some functionality in there, but the documentation has been updated naturally. so actually trying to get it up and running, I don't think it's quite ready for that yet. Yeah, last thing, Jeff, do you want to do a little shout out on World of Drush?
Yep. Drush 0.0.5 came out. The major new thing in that is PML, so you can list what modules are on your site and their status. That's basically all it does right now. There's no sort of parity with the Drupal features, but I want to kind of get those in there one by one. But it's useful if you just do, Drush PML grep web form and then see if you have it in your code base or not in its status. And there's a couple improvements to configuration management commands.
Awesome. Super. That's it, I think. Do you guys have anything else that we want to talk about during this meeting?
There's a fantastic new blog post on the Backdrop CMS or news page if you guys want to check out the community spotlight. Oh, also we have a newsletter going out tomorrow.
Oh, awesome. On what topic?
Well, blog posts on Backdrop CMS. It's kind of a call to anyone who wants to write one, as well as a highlight of 3 of our most recent ones.
Oh, awesome. Wow, marketing.
So I did a beta release of the reference module since no one seemed to have any problems when they were testing it out. And I haven't heard terribly much back from them since. So I guess it's all going well. Jen was saying that we need to do like not a beta release in order to get it onto the backdropcms.org site. Is that true?
I don't know. So I saw there were a couple of modules that had like alpha releases that were up. So I think our packager is just broken. the last module I made a release of also didn't get a package.
Was that just yesterday, Jen?
No, it was before that. But I can't figure out when it works and when it doesn't. Like, it doesn't package and it doesn't give you an error sometimes. And references was one that did it, and I think I had the same thing happen with YouTube or another project recently too.
And it's reference, not references.
Sorry, reference.
Yeah, so
it would be good if we could get some documentation on like what naming conventions are supposed to trigger the packager so that we would know what we're supposed to name.
Oh, the only problem is, Mike, is there's a tag, but there's not a release yet. So you need to go to the tag and then create a release on it.
Oh, because it shows up under releases on GitHub.
Yeah, it's strange.
Does it just show all tags there?
Yes, it's dumb. The releases tab shows you tags. But it's not actually a release until you hit add release notes, and then it becomes it becomes a release.
Yes.
Yep.
Sounds good. And yeah, and beta's fine for now. It's working fine. Before I actually go the 1.0 like full release, I need to do the reverse views integration, which someone was asking for. I forget who. The one that lets you do a view of items being referenced by a reference field. No, wait, the other way around. Whichever one is the opposite of the regular one. That, and I don't know, like figuring out, people want an upgrade path, but it seems like they want upgrade paths from arbitrary other modules. So yeah, it's hard to do an official upgrade path because people want like, from references, from taxonomy, from other fields like entity reference and Drupal 7.
Yeah.
Like it just seems like, you know, like lots of people want to convert lots of different fields to it. So yeah, I'm leaning towards.
That might be something where we can let those things evolve, like as add-on modules or other modules or something, where it's like, oh, you want to upgrade from this to this, you can do that. And then over time, we can see, like, are people actually upgrading from Drupal 7 sites that have entity reference or not?
Yeah.
And if that upgrade path never exists, then maybe it's not something that Backdrop needs.
So it's like we can definitely create like additional modules to handle that sort of upgrades. Echo. Someone has their speakers on. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Mike. That's really great. I'm really happy to see that. Okay. I think that's it for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll get to it today, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you guys later.
All right.
Everyone.
Bye, folks.
Bye.